I want you to think about this phrase in your life, whether it is in a clinical issue, something you've been trying to change, like working on depression or anxiety or stress or fear or burnout or whatever it is that you've been hurting over. We want to put an end to that if we can, right? Don't want you hurting, want you feeling good things. Might be an addiction, might be a habit pattern, might be a health practice or something. Could be in the second piece of the pie, which is your relationships, or it could be in the third piece of the pie, and that's your performance, the way you're accomplishing the goals that you care about, and the dreams that you have, and using your talents and all that stuff. All right. Or it could be about dealing with another person in any one of those three categories, too. So here's the phrase. Ready for this? The best predictor of the future is the past. The best predictor of the future is the past. You hear phrases around this all the time. You know, if we don't understand history, we're destined to repeat it, for example. But when we talk about this in the areas of human growth and change and development and all that, um, that's just not like a nice saying. It's basically it's based on patterns of behavior that are deeply ingrained in us. And why are they deeply ingrained? Because they have wiring, just like a software program is programmed every time you hit a certain icon or hit a certain command in your word processor or on your email or whatever, it does what it does. Why? Because it did that yesterday? No, 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 no. Yesterday it might have been a nightmare, but it's going to do it again. Not because it did it that way yesterday, but because that's how it's programmed. And the wiring and the ones and zeros and the commands and the viruses and all of that are loaded into the patterning of how that program runs. And that's why we tend to continue patterns. And this is also where another saying comes from, which is not true, which is, well, people don't change. Leopard can't change its spots. You know, they'll always be that way, all that kind of stuff. That's experientially, personally, anecdotally, however you say that word, um, and research based, not true. People do change, but they don't change without developing a new past. Now, what do we mean by that? I said the past is the best predictor of the future. Okay. So that's why, you know, look at New Year's resolutions. We're harping on those a little bit because it's the end of the year now. But if somebody's been a certain way and then the calendar changes and they say, I'm going to make a commitment to be different starting tomorrow on January 1st, the calendar changed, but they didn't. The program didn't change. The program that's going to run the same behavior after the initial hoopla gets over with, and the euphoria of thinking I'm going to be different, a little energy burst that happens in the first few weeks. What the stats show are that the pattern runs its program again. Now, you're not doomed to this, nor has anybody who has failed you in the past doomed to fail you in the future. Okay. This is why relationships and marriages and individuals can be restored and redeemed. I mean, I have given my entire life to the belief and the realization and the certainty that people can change. But to do that, you got to get a new past. Well, how do you get a new past? Well, that's a complicated topic. But in fact, we have a 2-hour webinar on boundaries.me on overcoming your past. But there's one little point in here I want you to get. Now, think of this statement. Somebody says, you got back together with Dave or Joey? You got back together with him? I mean, when y'all dated before, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? You know how he is. Well, if that's you broke up and a month later you got back together, then maybe pretty accurate advice, because the past, it doesn't really have a new past. But consider this: you have that same conversation, and somebody says, "You got back together with that? Don't you realize?" And all the look at all the how long have y'all been? What are you doing? You separated or you broke up? You got back together? Don't you remember how? Well, you say, you're right. You're exactly right. For several years, it was awful, and all that past, it was just awful. But in the past 2 years, you won't believe what he's done. Well, what's he done? Well, he had a wake up call, and he realized that he couldn't change on his own. He realized that he had a need for help and he had a problem. This wasn't everybody else's fault, like he had always said before. And so when he realized he had a problem, he got with a good therapist and he started going to a recovery group, and he started to go in to seminars, and he got a coach and he got a mentor, and and for the past 2 years, then he's really changing, and there's evidence of that. We see it now. We got a little more solid ground to stand on, to say the past is the best predictor of the future. Now, in a good way, because there's a new past that's different than the old past. See, I wouldn't want you launching back into a deep, commitment to Davy or Dave or Joey or whatever his name is, or Susie or whomever. If it's a New Year's resolution after 2 years of abusive, toxic, whatever behavior, and they say, I'm going to be different. Now, let's see some things be different, and that new past will help me to trust a new future, because what will that new future be? It'll be an extension of the new past that we have seen.